And we are back. So sorry about that, everybody. StreamYard and YouTube, and there was just some sort of, I don't even know what wrong. When Clayton left, YouTube said, get off of here, and just kicked everybody off and ended the stream. So we're back. We're gonna figure out how to splice it together. Jacob and Tim are getting back all the information we were having, and hopefully we can get people back. We can get people back in here.
Yeah, good times with the internet. Always nice. I think it was actually Clayton's fault though, so I'm gonna technically blame him for sure. But if
It's
you
always
guys were
Clayton's fault.
listening, we were just explaining the hip drop rule, which it seems like it's kind of stupid and that it's not really. There is a chance that it's not going to pass. I hope it doesn't pass. Clayton popped on here quick to just go over the fact that YouTube, for whatever reason, felt the need to demonetize our channel. It could be due to a number of different things. Apparently, they listed a laundry list of things. Most likely, it was because Clayton didn't sign some sort of agreement kind of thing. The only problem with that is that it sounds like it could take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to get remonetized and get everything cleared up. But that's not a huge deal. He wanted to just let you guys know it's not really about the money here. We're just trying to make sure that we crank out good content for you. So, in the meantime, we may start up some sort of like Patreon or something along those lines. But for the time being, you are not going to be able to subscribe. You won't be able to be a part of the technical PTA posse. We are going to work on that, work on getting it fixed. But yeah, other than that, we're going to keep trudging on with the show. Again, if you're just joining us for the first time, we're going to try to look at the NFC North today, look at their position in the draft, look at their needs, and then look at their kind of their layouts with the PFF gradeds, where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are. That way we can get an idea as to, like I said, how they're going to tackle the draft. And it does affect us because if we know what our NFC rivals are going to be doing and what their needs are, it can kind of help us play a little bit of that chess game. Tim, you're back with us. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, you want to just wrap up this hip drop tackle talk?
Yes.
We let's see if I can get this on the screen here. You guys see that all right?
Yep.
So David Bakhtiari, being the absolute gem of a human that he is, had a great response with regards to the hip drop tackle proposed rule change. D-Box says competition committee should spend more time working on a single standard field to play on, i.e. grass, instead of the hip drop tackle would be more beneficial to the, quote, health and safety initiative. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I love David Bakhtiari and everything he stands for. It is weird. It's like, I'm not going to get into politics, but it seems like that nowadays they'll make a big deal out of fixing the smallest, tiniest little problem. Well, meanwhile, we have these big glaring needs that are like, why aren't we addressing, this bullet hole? You're putting a Band-Aid on it. Like, and Bakhtiari is always going to kind of go against the grain. That's why I love him. That's why I'll miss him. But yeah, man, I would love it for the NFL. Why wouldn't they just tackle, if you're worried about player safety, why not fix the surfaces that they play on, which is probably going to attribute to more than half of the injuries, for sure, a lot of the ligament injuries and that kind of stuff. So I agree with Mr. Bakhtiari.
What do you think, Carly?
Well, when specifically thinking about the turf stuff, I actually went back and I listened to that podcast that Joyce recommended by Bill Barnwell, and it was really awesome and really explained like how hard it is to know correlation. Like when numbers seem to lead to something doesn't necessarily mean causation, because there's so many other factors that aren't looked at. And I think they're with what they're doing with the turf and really not knowing exactly the cause of some of these injuries, because grass isn't the same all the time. It changes depending on weather, depending on rain, depending on different things. Like they're not 100% sure that's the cause. I think they're doing the same thing with this hip drop tackle, where they're looking at one thing and saying, okay, this is the reason this is happening. Let's eliminate this or change this. And it's so much easier just to start throwing more flags than to spend millions of dollars into research in turf and grass types, right? So it's they're doing the exact same error. It seems like the same kind of short-sighted thing, only just applying it right now to tackles. So I don't know that it's any better or any worse. It's annoying.
I agree. Totally.
Very
Jacob, I mean, you played the game. Like, how difficult is that for a player to just, change everything that they've been taught their whole life basically on how to tackle or bring down a ball carrier. How do you, because we talked about like the roughing the passer thing, and we saw how that rule change affected guys immediately. Like Clay Matthews was just, flagged on nearly every time he got to the quarterback, despite his best efforts to, not put his body weight on him or, whatever he was trying to do to pull up, and he was still getting flagged. We could run back highlights. I don't have them handy, but like there were plenty of those. I can remember them vividly of him basically doing what the rules committee wanted, which was to, no hit to the head, don't hit low, don't slam him to the ground. And he's doing all of this and still getting flagged, So it's like, from a player's perspective, what goes through their head when they're trying to approach the game?
Well, and that's just it, is there shouldn't have to be 1,000 rules going through their head in those split seconds before they make a tackle. Like we talked about Jeff Hafley and his approach to the defense is he doesn't want them thinking. He wants them being able to just, shoot and make plays and be violent and be aggressive. It's like the NFL rules nowadays. They need these guys to like go through a laundry list of like, okay, is my head on this proper side? Am I driving with my hips on this side? Am I making sure he's not being driven into the ground? Am I making sure I'm not putting my weight on top? Am I making sure that I'm not rolling on? Like, dude, at some point you're just going to have to realize that you're, like you said, it's a game and it's a violent game. So you're trying to make it as patty cake as possible, but all you're doing is just I think you're just watering down the game completely. And I don't know. I'm going to probably sound like an old man, but I just think it's time. They're wearing pads for a reason. They get paid millions of dollars for a reason. Like we can try to protect them as much as possible, but at some point you just got to let them play.
Yeah. Look at Dre Greenlaw in the Super Bowl,
Exactly.
Like what rule change would have protected that from happening? Like you can step on the field, funny things happen. We don't play football. I could slip getting out of the shower, right? Life happens sometimes. You can't as much bubble wrap as you try to put on things. It's not gonna. You're not going to be 100% safe, especially playing football, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's like It's like Sam Shaver for the podcast here. It's like Sam Shaver said. It's like the video of the guy using the scratch removal stick on his car, and it just zooms out, and the car is completely totaled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
people are finding their way back in. Sorry about the stream going down, guys. Deadfish in the chat. Got Brent in Indiana. Peter Stone is in the house. Randy Cleavers. All right, they're finding us. We're getting back.
Yeah, and a bunch of people in the chat are asking. We'll just say it one more time. We did get kicked off the stream. It was probably more of an error than anything else, but we did get demonetized on YouTube, which is why Clayton popped down here, did a little PSA. So if you guys are wondering why you're not a member right now, we're trying to fix it. We'll have some information hopefully for you by tonight or tomorrow. So that's what's up. But Tim, are you guys good with the moving on from the hip roll and maybe looking at some PFF stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I thought this would be good. I thought it would be interesting. Last night when I first was looking at some stuff, I thought, oh, this is gonna be kind of boring. I don't really know, what to think of it. Real quick, Tim, if you don't mind, I'm gonna throw up these overlays real quick just so that we can get an idea, refresh your guys' memories. The Vikings and the Lions. I didn't realize that the Lions ended up. The Vikings ended up 7-10, tied with the Bears. Their offense was tied for 9th with us, I believe. Their defense was 25th. Special teams ranked 18th, overall ranking of 12th. The Lions were just kind of powerhouses last year, 12-5. Can you by chance move the banner, Tim, that's on the bottom for me? If you can't,
I sure can.
Defense was 19th. Yeah, offense was 2nd, overall rating of 5th overall. They even had a special teams ranking of tied for 12th. And then if you look at, obviously, our side here, that's not the right one. The Bears and us, we were 9-8, obviously. Defense was 21st ranked. Offense was tied for 9th with the Vikings. Overall ranking of 13th. And then our Bears bringing it up the rear, 7-10, tied for 22nd on offense, 28th on defense, and overall ranking of 27th. So that's just kind of a quick overview of what happened, just to refresh our memories of the NFC North last year. Tim, if you want to pull up PFF, what I thought we would do is go from team to team and just look at what we're,
before I do that, can I just remind everyone?
The Bears still suck.
Yes, they
Seemed
do.
like as good a time as any to bring that up.
Yes,
Go ahead, Jacob.
they do. Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you want to pull up PFF, we can start by looking at. Let's start with the Bears, just because
The Bears.
still suck. Yeah.
The Bears. There's
So
your
we did look at,
Chicago Bears.
we looked at this information here just now, so that's kind of a refresher. But if you want to just click on their lineup, excellent.
Yeesh. How's that
So
look? You guys see that all right on the screen?
that's about perfect, just where you had it. Yeah, right there.
All right.
So it does pain me to say that on defense, they're looking okay. They're a few pieces away from having a pretty decent defense. Obviously, they have the number 1 ranked cornerback over there, Mr. Jalen Johnson at 90.8, but they definitely could use an opposite corner. I'd argue they could probably use, I mean, they still probably like Jaquan Brisker, but they definitely need a linebacker and they definitely need some defensive line help. Where do you see on this defense that they could attack the draft, Tim? Anything pop off to you?
It sure looks like possibly D line. They may need some depth there. Like you said, their secondary, Briskard and Bird and Johnson look good if we're just looking at the numbers, but they may be in that middle linebacker market a little bit too. They may be looking for depth just on the defensive side, but yeah, I mean they're probably defensive tackle. I would think they may be looking at. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at both sides of the ball, I think the most screaming obvious one is the fact that they have Rippon at quarterback with a blistering 48.1 ranking over there. They've got Scott. Is that Michael Scott? Yeah, Michael
Scott. Wow.
52.7 over there.
He does run a 35-mile-an-hour 40, so
that's true. That is true. And then obviously the right side of that offensive line, their center and their left side is, I would argue, pretty decent, but they definitely need to bolster that right side of the line. So what we were going to also do, guys, is while we're looking at these, pull up, for instance, like right here. If you'll see, the Bears somehow in all of their magical wizardry,
lack of glory.
Yeah, they ended up with 4 draft picks in the 2024 draft. 4. Now they have the first overall pick, which is good. They have the 9th overall pick in the first round, which is good. They have the 11th pick in the third and the 22nd in the 4th. So right now, if you're the Bears, you have to take a quarterback with either that first pick or this was kind of fun. We did some scenarios, which we can get into a little bit later. I was messing around yesterday with PFF. What I did is I traded back out of the first pick to either the 3rd or the 4th. And then what I did was I was either able to grab Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, or what I did is if I missed one of those 2 guys, I'd grab Joe Alt and then come around and grab Bo Nix. But then I was also able to grab like 4 or 5 more picks. And then I was able to kind of pepper in an actual decent draft. But with that being said, if they only keep those original 4 picks, obviously they have to go quarterback. I would assume with the 9th pick, they're going to go wide receiver or something along those lines, because that was basically their biggest needs was
Right.
D-line, quarterback, and wide receiver. I don't know, Tim, what would you do? Or Carly, what would you do if anything different in that scenario?
Well, I think we're assuming that the Bears have a competent general manager, which I think that's a big assumption. But the other thing is we know they need a quarterback, like you said. To me, it's about, is it a foregone conclusion that they're going to draft Caleb Williams? Now, if you think that's true, then I don't see them moving off of number 1. I think they're just going to use that pick and draft Caleb Williams like, 90% of the world is assuming right now. But there is a scenario like you described where if maybe perhaps the Bears front office is not necessarily, hooked on Caleb Williams, then they probably do trade back, right? And they go after, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are probably going to go early. They have more than one option there. So I think that's going to be the crux of their argument there. Do they want Caleb Williams? If they do, they stay at number 1. If they're open to other quarterback possibilities, then I do. There is a chance they trade back to try and, get some more picks as well as still draft a quarterback in the first round. Because, I mean, even picking at, what was their second pick in the first round? 9th? you
Yeah.
had on that chart, right? So, I mean, they could still get a quarterback at 9.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah,
Very
depending on
easy.
what happens, if Jaden Daniels falls, or if AJ McCarthy, if they think that he's worth it, or if they sit and wait for Bo Nix.
Right. It all
I can
depends
see
on
it.
which quarterback, they're the most comfortable with destroying his career. So, we'll have to see.
Is the Bears GM currently the same one that drafted Justin Fields?
Yes,
Yes.
I think
I
that's
Okay,
believe.
so if it is, I don't see him trading back to get another one unless maybe to the latest the third, because I do not think that he can risk having another quarterback that does not play up to standards and then keep his job. I think they're going to have to go for Caleb Williams or one of the top 3 at this. I don't see them going back to 9. I don't think he can risk it. I think he needs to make sure they're going to get the very top pick that they have, so that then if something does go wrong, it won't look like he messed up. Because when we go back at hindsight and maybe they get Drake May or JJ McCarthy or somebody, and they're like, oh, he fizzles out and doesn't last a year. Everyone's going to be like, why didn't you take Caleb Williams at number 1 and that sort of thing. So we'll see, but it's pretty fascinating.
I think it was Ryan Pace, I believe, that moved up. Yeah, that moved up to get Fields, not Poles.
Okay. Not polls. So it was
Oh,
a
okay,
different
all
GM.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good
That's
point, Carly,
interesting.
too. But it's also like you got to look at the other side of the coin. There's no guarantees, right? I mean, Caleb Williams could get drafted first and he could be a dumpster fire in the NFL. There are absolutely no guarantees that, and you have to think about this too. This is where, the Bears and a lot of these other teams in the league, it truly shocks me that nobody has stolen the Packers formula of drafting a quarterback, putting them behind a veteran and developing them. Once again, here are the Chicago Bears, first pick in the draft. They're going to take a quarterback and he's going to start immediately. And Bears fans and the rest of the league is going to just sit here and expect this kid to come into the NFL and play at a high level. And it's just so rare that you see that, right, Jacob? Like coming right into the league and just, CJ Stroud, what can we say? There's an exception to the rule, right?
It's like CJ Stroud, Russell Wilson, I think, had a decent beginning of his career like that. But yeah, it's not often, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think too that a reason for that is that, generally speaking, I think the Packers organization gives their head coaches a little bit of like a guaranteed, you get like 2 or 3 years, and I think they give you a little bit of a cushion, maybe that year 1 and year 2, because hey, these aren't your guys. Maybe you inherited a team or a squad that you didn't really want. You don't have time to really get through the draft and develop the sort of people that you want. And I think that a lot of organizations, you only maybe get 1 or 2 years, if that. And if you're having a year where you're 6 and 10 or whatever, they're going to cut bait before you actually have that before your game plan and your whole planning comes to fruition. So I think that's a reason why a lot of the GMs or a lot of the coaches specifically feel the need. They're like, I got to play this guy now. I don't have 2 years. I don't have 3 years to wait and see if he's going to pan out,
Yeah, absolutely. So
And
other
owners too. I'm sure owners have that too, because owners, they want their teams to win championships, and it's a passing league. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Packers don't have that overall pressure from a single owner being like, I have to get this done. If I don't sign this guy or trade this guy or make this pick or win this amount of games, my butt's done. So I think that's another weight off of having the Packers organization, obviously not having a single owner.
Exactly. I agree. That's why we can just let Goody cook, right?
Exactly.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Well, all right. So I'm going to write this down real quick, just so in case we do feel the need. So I would say definitely the Bears, it's quarterback, wide receiver, and then right guard, right tackle, middle linebacker, and cornerback.
You still think, Jacob, that they're going to draft a wide receiver after getting Keenan Allen, and they have DJ Moore, and they have another good one too, but you still think they're going to go high at wide receiver?
I do, yeah. I think they're either going to, with those first 2 picks, if they don't trade down, if they take Caleb Williams, they're going to do everything in their right mind to make sure that he has no excuses. So they're either going to go left tackle. I think they'll take like either Alt or another big left tackle, or else they're going to give him like either Brock Bowers or another wide receiver, like a Roma Dunze or something like that is what I see. But I could be wrong. If it was me and if they were smart, I would trade out of the first pick, get 4 or 5 picks just for that haul. Try to pick up a quarterback with the 9th pick overall. If you can't, grab one of your tackles and then wait until Bo Nix or Mike Penix comes around in the later pick. But that's just me.
I think it makes a lot of sense. What do you think about, wait, here, Chad Inc. in the chat. I like Jacob's idea of moving the first pick for more draft capital, taking a quarterback at 9 for the Bears. Hopefully they don't do that because it just makes sense. That's a great point. So probably not, Chad. You're probably right. They probably won't do it because it does make sense. But you never know.
What I was thinking too is like John Capel, because a lot of people aren't 100% sold on the fact that Caleb is the best quarterback, and he may have a lot of intangibles and all that kind of stuff, but there's something about the guy that makes me believe he's not. He just has too much of like a Johnny Manziel feel to him, where he's just gonna bust. And then Kurt Warner apparently said that Drake May is the best on progressions in the NFL offense, which that's a big deal. Doesn't matter if you can throw like Patrick Mahomes if you can't figure out who to throw to.
Yeah,
yeah,
very true.
Adam's saying that if they do end up trading that first pick, that would blow things up. That would definitely throw a wrench and some spokes. It'd be fun to watch, though.
Yeah,
sure would.
Yeah, that would shake up early picks across everybody's boards.
Well, if you're cool, Tim, so that's kind of a brief overview of what's going on in Chicago. Do we want to go check out Detroit and see what they're doing?
We want to go to the Lions, check out the Detroit Lions. Got them pulled up here.
Nice. Look at that.
Got that rundown for me, Jim? All right, here we go.
Boy, I tell you what, I'm seeing way too much blue and green. The Lions have kind of overhauled their team pretty quickly. If you look at offense, that offensive line may be one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. Starting with their left tackle, it's an 81.1, 74.9, 88.8 Ragnow at the center. Their worst lineman is a 71.6 at right guard. And then Penei Sewell, obviously, just a beast, 92.8, graded out as the best tackle in football. They struck gold with Sam Laporta, a guy that, if you remember, around this time last year, I was screaming saying that this dude's going to be awesome, another Iowa tight end. They got Khalif Raymond coming in at a 75.4. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown's a beast at 91.2. And then they got that other guy, Williams, who is still shaking off some dust from an injury he had. He's their worst graded wide receiver at a 62.9. And then Goff quietly is ranked 85.7. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, 76.3. That is a very, very potent offense right there.
Yeah, I would think it's fair to say that Jared Goff is probably one of the most underrated, underappreciated quarterbacks.
I think he has for his whole career too.
Yeah, definitely. So when you look at needs, what are there's a lot of green and a lot of blue. Yeah, on offense you don't see much, right?
I'd say maybe a backup wide receiver and then maybe some backup O-line. I mean, that's about it. That's crazy.
Right. Most of it seems to be on the defensive side of the ball, and of course their defense doesn't look too shabby either. But maybe that right defensive end or
looks like they're in the market for corner pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got Joseph at safety there, maybe free safety as well. So that could make things interesting because we know that we're in the market for secondary players, right? So, the Lions are going to be going after corner and safety as well, possibly in this draft. Do you have their picks on that chart, Jacob? What is for their draft picks this year? There you go. Perfect.
So, they're picking in the first round, pick 29. Pick 29 in the second round. They come around quickly, though, in the third with a 9th overall pick there. And then they have a bit of a gap. They don't pick pretty much the rest of the third, all of the fourth, and most of the fifth. Come around with the 29th pick in the 5th round, the 25th in the 6th, as well as the 29th in the 6th. And then they have the 29th in the 7th. So only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 7 picks for them if they decide to stick as is.
You think they trade up?
I don't think they would
trade.
Late
first round, late in the second round, early
the
third.
Thing is that, as we just kind of talked about, I think they have the benefit of on offense, they're kind of stacked. They can sit and wait at 29, and I bet you a quality wide receiver or whoever they're waiting for is going to fall to them. I think they have they're so stacked on offense that they have the ability to just sit and wait and pick the best player available. You know what I mean? And they can
Right.
say, because I would argue that they need 2 linebackers, a Sam and a Will, probably that free safety, and then 2 cornerbacks as well as an edge. I think that sitting at 29, one of those positions is going to fall to them, and they're going to be a really high-rated player. So if I'm the Lions, I'm sitting and waiting because
Yeah.
that's how I would do
Are
it.
you keeping track of these for if we do a 1-rounder?
Yep, I am.
Awesome. Yeah. Because I see that too, Jacob. You're right. I was looking at the defensive line for them, but I think you're right. I think they're going to be more in the middle linebacker market, corner and safety market, and then like you said on the offensive side, probably a receiver.
Yeah. Carly, anything you want to add to that?
Man, looking at this, I have to say the Lions are the team that I'm most concerned for coming up this year. It's going to be exciting. The divisional games are they're gonna rock and be intense, and I hope that we can get up and meet them and match them because they've got some good stuff going on.
Dude, look, their offensive line, every single one of them, the lowest ranked guy is the 15th overall ranked. It's 9th ranked tackle, 8th ranked guard, 1st ranked center, 15th ranked right tackle. I'm sorry, right guard, and the 1st ranked right tackle. That's got to be the best offensive line in football. That's crazy. And then on their defensive line, other than their edge, other than Davenport, McNeil is the 7th overall D lineman. Reeder was the 11th overall D lineman, and then Hutchinson was the 8th overall edge on that side. They've got an 86.8, 82.2, 91.0 on that defensive line. They are stacked in the trenches, absolutely stacked.
Yeah, I mean, I like the words that Carly used. Concerned. We don't fear anyone, but certainly when you look at our division rivals, Detroit is the number one concern. I mean, this is the team that we have to really concern ourselves with. I mean, I don't want to write off the Bears or the Vikings, and I'm sure we'll move to the Vikings next year, and they have a lot of draft picks as well. But yeah, Reef hit it on the head here. Truly, the battle for the North is the Lions and the Packers. It sure looks that way. I mean, would you guys agree?
I would.
I would agree too, but I want to know for you guys, would you rather have crappy division rivals and win all the games? Or would you rather have really good ones and it's the most exciting games and seeing your guys play at their best?
Long as they win all of the games, I don't care. What about you, Jacob?
I mean, yeah, you got that whole iron coaches or iron sharpens iron kind of thing. So in a way, I don't know. I mean, because the end goal is for us to win a Super Bowl, right? So if we just randomly are hanging banners for the conference, that's cool, and for the division, that's cool, I guess. But it's like it's not really what we're looking for. So if we cruise through each year and we 6-0 on the division or whatever it is, that's fine. But I'd rather be hanging a different type of banner with a ring. You know what I mean? So, yeesh. But
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, Donald Krieger says, "Good morning, you bunch of possums." Possum in a dumpster. Possum in a dumpster. Well, yeah. All right.
We should make Clayton's possum in a dumpster soundbite because Jacob, you're awesome. You do a great impression, but that is just. That's one of the first phrases I remember him saying on the thing, and so we should just make a soundbite. That way, when he's gone, we can just click it.
For those of you listening on the pod,
Tim, I'm charging you with making that.
All right, sounds good. Jacob, what do you think? Do you want to move to Minnesota?
I was gonna say, let's take
not
a peek.
Not literally, of course. You
No.
wouldn't literally want to do that.
Don't want to do that. Get murdered.
He practically lives there anyway. I mean, it's just across the bridge.
I could throw a football into Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Jacob.
John says we absolutely need a possum in a dumpster drop, but with my impression.
Oh, like this one?
There's a possum in a dumpster. That's pretty good.
Awesome.
And then, yes, I agree, Drew. Detroit is definitely on the prowl for defense. So yeah, let's take a peek over at the Minnesota Vikings. See how they're doing.
Let's do it. Let's see.
Sure.
Let's find
Dan Donald says, "Yeesh."
Yeesh. All right, here are those purple goofballs. Let's see. Bam.
Purple goofballs.
Minnesota. Let's see.
All right. You know
How
what?
about that? Does that look good? We can see that? Guys,
Now
see
this
that
is,
okay?
I can see that. That's perfect. This is starting to look more like a palette of colors here. I see the rainbow, all the colors of the rainbow. Let's start on offense here. Obviously, Justin Jefferson ranks as, I think it's like the third or fifth best wide receiver at a 91.1. Powell, I believe it's Brandon Powell, one of their younger guys who does some kick returning. He's the 61.7, got him lined up in the slot. Opposite side wide receiver over there is Mr. Jordan Addison, had a pretty good year to start off, 68.6. Mr. TJ Hawkinson, third best overall tight end, 78.8. It pains me and breaks my heart in a million shattered pieces to announce that Aaron Jones is now in their lineup, ranking 80.9. Very good grade for him. It makes me laugh quite a lot to see that Sam Darnold is slotted in as their starting quarterback at a 66 flat grade. And then on their offensive line, their tackles are decent. O'Neal at a 74.5. Is that Darisaw, I believe is his name, on the opposite side at 82.4. But where they lack depth and talent is kind of where we do as well, as the interior offensive line. Center and both guards are struggling. 55.1, 60.9, 59.5. What do you see on the offense there, Tim? Is that just the most blaring, obvious need right there?
Oh, I would think so, especially bringing, Aaron Jones in over there. You got to block for him unless you're just going to run off tackle every time you run the football. But yeah, interior offensive line. So again, another comparable to what we're looking for, right? We talked about adding depth, center, right guard, interior offensive line kind of being a priority for us. That's clearly a priority for Minnesota on the offensive side of the ball. And do you have their picks handy?
I was just going to say, Vikings have a lot of picks in the top 10, so I'm going to go ahead and show you right now exactly where they got them. And yeah, here, let me get that out of the way.
Ooh, yeah, 11th
right,
and 23rd in the first round. Wow.
Yeah. 11th, 23rd, and they've got the 8th pick in the 4th, 29th in the 4th. They do have a pretty big gap, though, because they, obviously they have the 11th and the 23rd, and then they're going to end up not picking it all in the 2nd, not picking it all in the 3rd. So they go two solid chunks of rounds without any kind of pick there. I believe, Carly, were you pulling this up here saying the Vikes and Bears can't?
Well, I want to hear. Yeah. Can't be considered as top competition to get a QB, but then he says at the bottom, Drew D here says, oh, hang on, sorry, wrong one. My question is, can the Vikings make a move to get high enough for a QB in the first? I feel like they don't have enough draft capital.
They're at 11, though. They're picking 11.
They can. So I actually was going to pull up the draft trade chart. As of right now, they can package their two first, the 23 and 11, and they can move up to about 4th, is what it sounds like. All they'd have to do is just throw in like a next year's 3rd or 4th, and that should get them into like 3rd or 2nd. So in theory, yeah, they do. And okay. I kind of suspect that that's what they're gonna do. But there's also a lot of rumors saying that they're trying just to get up to like 4th or around there to try to snag AJ McCarthy, who apparently a lot of people are saying he's sneakily raising up the draft charts really quickly. But I think that they're just going to try to have themselves in position to snag one of the top 4 quarterbacks, whoever that may be. I think that they're just going all in at that point. But I could be wrong. They could definitely snag some decent draft capital in that 4th. They have 4 picks in the 4th and the 5th round, and then the first pick of the 6th. So that's a good chunk of them right there. But I don't know. I have not liked the way that the Lions have drafted since their new guy, was it Kwesi, whatever his face is, took over, the analytical guy. I don't think that he's done that great of a job, in my opinion. But that's fine. They can keep taking swings and misses. That's cool for me. So on offense, if I can summarize, I think that it's fair to say they need interior offensive linemen, all 3 positions, both guards in the center. I think that they would need probably another swing at wide receiver would be smart. And then obviously they need to take a quarterback. Does that sound good?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And their center almost looks kind of like like our situation. Bradbury's 60.9 PFF grade, 23rd of 36 centers. So he's not. It's kind of like where we're at with old Joshy boy, right? It's just like, you're not a complete dumpster fire. You're not like bottom barrel, but you're definitely not at the top tier, So I think they may be looking. I agree to maybe upgrade at center.
Yeah, I agree. And also, Donald Krieger brings up a good point. Vikings quarterback coach McNown was Drake May's high school coach. That is true. They brought him in here just before the season started, and I guess they've had contacts with each other. I just don't see. I mean, that the Vikes would have to give up, like I said, both of those picks and some compensation next year to move up to probably. It'd have to be at least 2 or 3 if they wanted to catch Drake May, I would assume. But we'll see. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, can you pull up Van Ginkel right there, their edge? Is there a way you can click on him to see if we can look at his stats?
Yeah, let's see.
91.1. I didn't realize, where did they get him recently? They must have just gotten him recently, right? He must have played at for different teams. I can't remember where, but I didn't realize that he graded out that well. And
Wisconsin Badgers, drafted in 2019, 5th rounder.
6'4", 242. So he's been playing really well for them, or at least grading out. Another guy that they got, if you want to exit out of this, is that Blake Cashman. I think that's probably their best free agent signing over there at linebacker. Ranks 82.1, 8th overall linebacker. That dude he's a beast. Definitely had some down years, but this last year he played out of his mind. So although that could be one of those signings that they could end up regretting, because look at that. He had 82.1 in 2023, but other than that dude has been booty cheeks, man. So that'd be cool. That'd be nice to see some regression from him, especially after the Vikes gave him the bag. So other than that, though, Tim, what do you see on this defense as far as needs?
Holy crap, defensive tackle. Look at this guy. Jihad Ward. Here's the guy. Let's see, 2023 season grades. Defensive grade 42.4, run defense 40.4, pass rush grade 53.9, coverage grade 49.5. You don't really care about how defensive guy in that position on your line is covering, I guess. It's weird because they have him, we know how this is. He's either an edge or a defensive tackle, right? But looking at these numbers, I would think they may be looking D-line here. Same thing here. We got you've got Phillips over here, Harrison Phillips, your D-lineman, pretty low grades, 59.7 defensive grade last year. Run defensive grade, 65.6. Pass rush grade, 53.6. Coverage grade, 56.2. So to me, looking at Minnesota's defense, it looks like, obviously we're not going to even talk about Harrison Smith. That guy is just, getting older, but still just a monster back there. I really look at this defense. It's D-line and it's corners. Yeah.
I think they could take a stab at 2 of them too. I think you'd probably want to go at least double down on corner, probably take 2 interior D linemen. I mean, other than that, this team actually is not that far off from having a pretty stacked, on paper at least. You know what I mean? Because if you fill, basically you take 2 corners, 2 interior D linemen, and on paper that's a pretty good looking defense. Same thing with the offense. It sounds easy enough. You got to shore up the quarterback, a 3rd wide receiver, and then the whole interior offensive line. It sounds easier said than done, but in theory, exactly what pieces you need to replace.
I agree. So, and another parallel with us, right? They're looking at corners. We just, you just brought that up, double dipping at corner. Well, we ran a few of our own mocks. We've double dipped at corner more than once. So, looking at how the draft stacks up, we could be fighting over some of these same prospects.
So I was just going to say, one of the things that I wanted to do with this exercise was see if there was any sort of like overlapping Venn diagram, and between ourselves, Chicago, Detroit, and Minnesota, all of us are in the market for corners, and all of us are actually in the market for, well, other than Chicago, most of us would need maybe 2 corners, I would say.
Can I ask you guys a quick question?
No.
Thanks, Jacob. This is the last time you're hosting this. I'm going to tattle on you. No. So I know that people talk a lot about how offenses are run different in college, and so there's kind of quite the learning curve for players on the offensive side of the ball as they come in and are learning, kind of this different way to play. But what about the defensive side? Are defenses pretty similar between college and NFL, or is it as steep of a learning curve? What do you guys think?
Could you say the last part one more time, sir? I was reading a comment.
No. Or on the defensive side of the ball, are the plays and the schemes and everything, are they more similar from college to NFL so that maybe someone you draft on the defensive side can contribute much more quickly than, an offensive player that has a lot more plays and things to memorize and learn and come in? Do you think it's easier for defensive players to transition from college to the NFL?
Boy.
I think maybe at this point in time, I think the college game and the pro game are kind of as close as they've ever been. You can see a lot of that influence, probably more so on the offensive side of the ball than the defensive side. But I still don't think it's an easy task. But it's not like it's not like learning a new language where you got to throw everything out and learn something different. I mean, there are some principles and things that are kind of universal, I guess. But I think it's still a big leap for any draft pick coming into the NFL, as far as, getting up to speed, literally. You hear that a lot, that the biggest thing the rookies struggle with in the game is just how fast football is played at the highest level. What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I agree with Cornelius here. Defenses are definitely more complex in the NFL, but that's just because the offenses are so much more complex. And like you talked about, everything's just done at such a crazy faster speed. I think that a better way to say it is that it's easier for offenses to come out swinging, I guess, with a little more confidence, because they it's just the old adage, like, the offense knows what they're doing, the defense has to react to what's going on. So in my opinion, I think that it would be easier for younger offensive players to come out and kind of shine faster than defensive players. But if you do have a defensive player that comes out and shines like a Sauce Gardner, you got yourself a freaking dog, because if he's able to do it, process that speed at that young of an age, he's going to, in theory, I think he should be good for a long career for sure. Well, Tim, do you, I think that honestly we should maybe put a cap on it for today, and that tomorrow we could maybe do either a first round mock or even like a 3-round mock, as in the position of each of the NFC North teams. We can keep our notes here as to what the needs are for each of those teams. I think that'd be kind of fun to do like a 3-round mock in the position. We could even, if Carly's here, and we could try to get Emilio, we could have each of us take a team, and we could try to see that. Ooh, Andy Monday's got an interesting comment here. He goes on to say, why would the Vikings bundle the 11th and 23rd pick when they have no picks in the 2nd or the 3rd? They are not one piece away. They have many needs. Well, there's an easy answer for that, Andy. It's because they're idiots. That's it. No, I agree with you, Andy. As people know, I'm more of a bargain shopper, so I would sit at 11 and see if one of the quarterbacks happen to fall. If not, at 23, I would assume that you could still get Bo Nix or Mike Penix, or wait until after that 11th pick goes by, maybe try to package one and move up around like the 14 or 15. I don't know. To me, it makes way more sense to chill, even maybe trade back and see if you can get like a Bo Nix or Penix or one of those guys, because like you said, to go 2 rounds without a single pick in the 2nd and the 3rd, when they do have quite a few needs, as we highlighted here, that's what I would do. But I don't know. What do you think about that, Tim?
Oh yeah, the Vikings are definitely idiots. Yeah, I agree. Oh, you meant with the rest of that point? Yeah, no, definitely. No, that makes sense. And Andy's right. I think more what you were saying when you were talking about they were kind of almost there, is that, despite having many needs, if they are able to shore up quarterback in some of these positions, that, we could find ourselves slowly into a 3-way competition for the division title, as opposed to maybe, just us in Detroit. I don't think you can totally write off the Vikings if they address some of these issues. But Andy does have a point. They do have multiple issues there, multiple voids.
I think too that is kind of what is. I don't know if you want to call it scary or intriguing or just if it makes for entertaining offseason of football is that the Bears and the Vikings are arguably one good pick at quarterback away from completely starting a whole new era of those franchises. I mean, we just did it this last year with Jordan Love. We took a step. I'd argue that the Lions did it the year before with Jared Goff and having that defense and having Dan Campbell come in there and change the complete, I guess, persona of that franchise. Right now,
Yeah, culture shift for sure.
Culture shift. Right now, the Bears and the Vikings are kind of floundering and they're floating in water. They don't really know who's leading them, which way they're going.
Well, the Bears do this every couple years, right?
Right. But if both of those organizations end up getting a quarterback that's a franchise quarterback, that completely shifts what's going on in the NFC North for the next 5 to 10 years. So,
yeah. And to Carly's point earlier, as far as like the competition, like, would you rather our division rivals stink and we just walk all over them, or would you rather them be, top tier and we're competing? I will say this. I feel like the NFL, this may be, just being a Packer fan and Homer perspective, but I feel like the NFL, at least in the NFC, is way better when the NFC North is competitive. You go back to some of those matchups with Packers Bears or Packers Vikings fighting for playoff contention. I feel like the league as a whole just is way better when the NFC North is competitive.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Drew D says he'd love to see a full NFC North mock. Oof, we might be able to do that. Chad Inks throwing some love, saying you guys have been doing a great job with the GML shows. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Chad.
Other than getting it, completely kicked off the air and having to send everybody to a different show. Thanks.
Other than that.
Yeah.
Drew D also says the Bears made the mistake they always make, changing quarterbacks 1 year before they're going to clear house. It does seem like that they're chasing their tail constantly. I agree.
They getting their draft advice from Mel Kiper, or
who's Mel Kiper?
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper anyway?
Anyway, who is that guy?
Do you think he says in a way? Did he say in a way, or did he say anyway with like just a really like?
Oh, that's anyway. That's just that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just that accent. That's all. And
Doug's wondering if Caleb Williams can be CJ Stroud as a rookie. It's possible. It is possible, and to be honest, that's my biggest fear, because if Caleb Williams does come in and does a CJ Stroud performance, that means that the Bears probably made the playoffs or something.
My gut's telling me he's more Jamarcus Russell than Stroud, nice. But I don't know. Could be wrong. I mean, you're not projected to go number one for no reason, right? So we can't sit here and just completely dog Caleb Williams. And obviously coming from, a top tier program like USC, I mean, the guy's NFL ready. It's not even debatable, but that's not the question, right? The question, like Doug is saying, can he come out like CJ Stroud did last year and look like basically like a veteran? I mean, CJ Stroud didn't. There were moments that you had to kind of remind yourself that the guy was a rookie last year, honestly.
Yeah, he did show up pretty well at his pro day. So, well, guys, I think we've got some good notes and ammunition set for tomorrow so that we could do an NFC North mock draft. I was thinking at least 3 rounds, but if it's going well, maybe we do a full one. It might take longer than I think we'd want to, so maybe start with 3. We'll see you there. Again, we just want to reiterate, thank you guys for tuning in after we had that little interruption. Again, if you are wondering why the subscriptions are not visible or able to be subscribed to, it's because for whatever reason, the YouTube gods have demonetized our account for the time being. We are going to be working on that to try to see if we can get that fixed. Either way, we'll have a solution to that problem within the next day or 2. Tim, do you have anything else? Carly, anything else that you'd like to part with?
No, this was fun. I'll try and make it tomorrow. I'll let you guys know, but I'll try and make it tomorrow to do a full NFC North mock. That would be pretty sweet. And I mean, I'm going to be snowed in. You're going to be snowed in, so we can probably make it happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm going to make sure that Carly has to pick for the Vikings, though. Just because.
That is so not nice.
I'll take the Bears. I'll take the Bears.
I'll take the Packers.
Shut up.
Of course.
How about we have the chat? Chat does that's how we could do it. Chat is the Packers. I'll be the Bears. Tim be the Lions. Carly Ray will have to be the Vikes.
All right. All right. I can deal with that.
All right. All right.
That'll work. I'm just drafting kickers for Detroit. That's all I'm doing.
That's just a kicker. Yeah, I like that.
Oh, man. I love it. Hey, guys, don't forget about PTA Live tonight as well. We're going to have special guest Paul Bretl joining the
Paul
show
Brittle's gonna be
tonight.
on.
Yeah, so 7 p.m. Central tonight for PTA Live. We'll have a new link up there and get it all scheduled for the stream. So make sure you guys check us out this evening, right? Jacob, you wanna hit him with the trademark Clayton impression?
Absolutely. For everybody listening on the pod, let's go out there and be the change we want to see in the world and go pack go. Possum in the dumpster.